a story that I'm actually like super embarrassed about, especially since, you know, it has happened to me in the past. Let me fix my camera really quick. So it has to do with something that I did when I was super young, like fresh out of high school. And honestly, there's a couple of reasons why I chose to do it, but they really sound pretty stupid right now as I'm looking back on it. But I thought that, you know, it would be interesting to share with you guys, just because I feel like some younger people of that age who are just getting out of high school themselves might be able to learn from my mistakes. So my confession is I was a catfish. I was. So back in high school, like my senior year, I had my own cell phone plan and everything, and I started talking to these guys. I didn't want to tell my mom about it, which was why it was convenient that I had my own cell phone plan at that time. I had a contract in my own name and everything. And so I started talking to this guy from Florida. Now, I lived in Michigan, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan at this time, and, you know, I started talking to this guy in Florida. Now, the sad part is, like, the profile that I had created that I met this guy on, I had used someone else's picture. Like, all of the information on the profile was actually about me, except for the weight and the picture, because I was honestly very self-conscious about my weight at that time. I still am to a certain extent, but definitely not as much as I was at that time. I feel like, you know, when you deal with self-esteem issues and stuff like that, you kind of tend to look down on yourself and hate yourself for certain things, you know, especially with my weight. That's always been a big issue that I've struggled with. So I feel like my weight and, you know, some of the self-esteem issues and how I viewed myself had a lot to do with the reason why I chose to put someone else's picture up as my profile picture on this website. I believe on my MySpace I had my own picture up, but on this site, I forget what site it was, to be honest, but on this site I had this, you know, she wasn't super skinny, she was pretty much average weight. I had her profile picture up as me, you know, and what I didn't think of was, like, if I was to go meet this guy, obviously he would be able to tell that this girl wasn't me. I mean, we looked completely different. Obviously, you know, I was heavier than she was, you know, and I think at that time, like, she had super long hair, and my senior year of high school is when I actually started growing out my hair from, like, short enough to spike. And so, like, there came a point where I was actually going to drive down to Florida in my car to meet this guy. And to this, you know, even to that point when, you know, I was agreeing to go to Florida and meet this guy, I had never told him that the picture wasn't me, you know, nothing. But I was actually going to go meet him. And, you know, I had actually left from where I was staying at. I was on my way driving to Florida. I think I got as far as, like, Illinois, like southern Illinois, because at that time I was living with, well, in the same town as my biological father in northern Wisconsin. And so I got as far as, like, southern Illinois before my mom called and told me that she had called the guy that I was driving down to Florida to meet and told him the truth about everything. And so, like, this guy ended up calling me. I had pulled over at a rest stop or a rest area to just kind of take a break and think about, what the heck am I doing, you know? And I was super nervous at the time, you know, because this was the first time I had ever driven, like, that far, you know, without knowing who I'm going to meet. You know, we didn't really, like, do any video chats or anything. I was taking a serious risk. And I feel like if I would have actually gone through with it and gone to Florida and my mom hadn't, like, intervened, I still don't understand, you know, how she got all that information that she got at that time. But it's a good thing that she did. So, you know, he had called me. while I was at this rest area and we were talking, and he told me to just turn around and not contact him anymore. You know, which was a good thing, because at the time I was super pissed, and I'm like, I couldn't believe that my mom did this to me. But looking back at it now, she was totally protecting me. She totally had my back on that one. It would have been a very bad idea for me to actually go through with it and go meet this guy, especially since he had no idea who he was about to meet. You know, I feel like if I would have driven all the way down there to Florida and met him as, you know, myself, but with a profile picture of this, you know, let's face it, this pretty, beautiful girl, you know, and I show up like this, you know, well, how I looked back then, he would not have been happy. And, you know, a lot of people, when they get catfished, you know, it's not like how it goes on MTV. When you don't have cameras there, I feel like there's a lot more potential for violence. And I really didn't know this guy. I mean, we'd been talking for a few weeks or whatever. But, yeah, that's my catfish story. I'm sure there's a lot of people who also have catfish stories, but might be afraid, stupid cat, might be afraid to, you know, kind of open up about their experience and why they chose to do it. That was why I chose to do it then. I'm definitely not like that now. I'm much more confident in myself, and I feel like it's better to be honest with the person, because starting out a relationship or even a friendship of any kind, it does you no good to lie, because you're just starting off basically ruining your friendship or your relationship because you're starting it off with a lie. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit more about the mistakes that I've made in my life. Hopefully you learn from my mistake and you don't choose to be a catfish just because you're insecure about your looks or your weight. And if you can hear that, the cat is now over by the window playing with the string from the blinds. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have a catfish story that you would like to share with me, I would definitely like to hear it. Feel free to email me. My email is somewhere on my channel, if not in the description box below. And until next time, bye guys.